Okay, setting up my camera here in my car, out here in the parking lot of Target. That's Target, for those who didn't know. Anyway, Saturday, July 12th, 2025, and I felt compelled to share this story and see if maybe any of you can relate. But man, what a week this past week was. And I'm referring to the trauma I went through really all week, but Tuesday it started and it bled into Wednesday. And when I say bled, I mean literally bled, because we're talking about dental and a procedure I had to have. I had to have a tooth extraction on Tuesday. It started on Tuesday, but it didn't end until Wednesday mid-afternoon, and I want to share the story. So let me take you back a little bit. I haven't been on here in a while, and I said I wanted to start engaging with all you guys a little bit more frequently, especially with my YouTube channel. Check that out. That's Shawn Stasiak, or in quotations, breakthrough. And I'll try to start posting here on Facebook when I do make these posts, to click on, or in fact, what I might even do is just create the link or whatever. I might, again, I'm a little techie challenge. All right, guys, I'm getting better. Give me some slack. Anyway, but yeah, check out the channel. I'm trying to grow my channel, and again, my channel is going to reflect me, like I've mentioned a few times, content that's more related to me as a wellness life coach and a speaker. But in this case, I want to share just a personal story and just see what, if you guys have experienced something like this. But we all go through our own experiences and situations, and for some reason I found myself in a really peculiar and just a situation that just has caused a lot of grief, man, with one freaking tooth. Okay, so a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, I had a tooth number 19, that was causing some pain, some discomfort. Lo and behold, I needed a root canal and a crown, right? So my dentist at the time felt that he could do the root canal. Sometimes these dentists feel like they can do a root canal, or they can even do an extraction in the office to save you money from having to go to a specialist. If you have to go to an oral surgeon for an extraction, or go to an endodontist, an endo, to get a root canal, you're paying 3, 4, 5 times the amount that a dentist at a dental office will charge you, right? So, and he thought, it seems pretty, I think I can do this, he says, right? But this particular tooth was very challenging, because it has 2 roots, but 3 canals. 2 canals connected to one root, and the other canal attached to the other root, right? I swear I could go to school and just add on to my chiropractic studies and education, and maybe get a side dental degree. I mean, with all the crap I've been through, and as inquisitive as I am, you learn the most about things that you have no clue about when you have to go through the fire on situations that you're basically the patient or the frickin' victim, right? I don't want to have a victim mentality, but it sure feels that way in this scenario, and you'll understand more as I explain the story. By the end of this, hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. But man, I go, and this is 2-3 years ago, right? I get this, the dentist says I can do the root canal, and the roots are windy, they're kind of curvy, they're a little bit challenging, but I think I can do it, so let me just do it here. So he did the root canal. Of course, I remember he did the root canal, and then he did the crown, but because I had my mouth open for so long, because it was so challenging for him to finish the root canal, I think I was just there for an extended period of time, and I remember my jaw was like, I don't know if it's locked jaw or what it was. I could not, it was clicking and popping for like 5-6 weeks after that. It was never the same for the longest time. And finally, I think I had it adjusted a few times, living in the chiropractic world, I was able to get it aligned, and over time, I think it was a little case of TMJ. Anyway, that caused grief, right? So not just the tooth itself, and not just the pocketbook, because it wasn't cheap. It was about $1,500 between the root canal and the crown. Well, fast forward from that time, so I go through the 6-8 weeks of the jaw issue because of the root canal. My tooth starts aching again. So this time I go back to the dentist, and he says, unfortunately, the root canal that I did failed. So I'm going to have to send you to a specialist, which is an endo. So I had to go to the endo, right? He had it's called a retreat. For those who are in the dental industry or who are familiar with, dentistry, no, that's called a retreat, right? So that's not cheap. That was another $1,500 for him to finish and do the job and get it done right. And even it was challenging for him, even as an endo, a specialist. This particular tooth, number 19, was extremely challenging. And so he did the root canal. He did a great job. Didn't have any issues with it after that. And says, he salvaged the tooth, could save the tooth. And so we did, right? But I'm $3,000 into one tooth at this point, right? $3,000 for one freaking tooth, okay? 2 root canals, 1 failed, had to do a retreat, and then the crown, right? Then fast forward 2 years later, which is a couple months ago, recently, I started having tooth pain again. Well, I've always been known, I guess, as a grinder. I guess I clench my jaw. I kind of have prominent jaw structure or bone, muscles in my jaw. And apparently I grind when I'm sleeping. I mean, these dentists over the years have been on me about getting a night guard. I've always thought it was just a gimmick and they're just trying to upsell me on something I don't need. But I think they might have a point now. Maybe there's some merit to that. So apparently I clinch and they always say, man, you grind really hard, man. Like you really clinch like strong. And you really need a night guard because you're going to really start wearing your teeth down more and more as you get older, and you're going to, you put the dental work you've had done in jeopardy because you're going to keep grinding it down. So I'm going to look into getting a night guard. But anyway, so I go back to the dentist. We do a pano, we do bite wings, we do these x-rays, and the dentist comes out and says, this is a different dentist now. She says, I don't see, there's no fractures, there's no, nothing I can see. The root canal looks great. I think you just are a grinder and you cause some inflammation. It's just soft tissue. Just give it a couple days and it should go away. And if it doesn't, let me know. Well, about a week and a half goes by. It's still bothering me. So they send me to another endo specialist, right, within their network. And I walk into the endo's office, and there he is sitting there in his room with my x-rays up on the wall. And I go, Doc, talk to me, man. What's going on? I have no idea. They said the root canal was great, and the dentist couldn't see anything on there. And he goes, yeah, no, the root canal is great, and it, but I know what your problem is. I go, what? He's like, you fractured your tooth root. And he showed me on there, and he says, yeah, and you've also, that caused an infection. So you have an infection in the bone, you have a fractured tooth root, and you've got infection also in the gum, in the bone. And he goes, I can give you some methylprednisone and some antibiotics, and it'll help bring the swelling down and the flare up, and because it was painful, man. I went through a couple flare ups, and it's brutal. I mean, you guys know, I'm sure. Look, I'm a chiropractor. I know all too well about neck pain, back pain, sciatica, migraines. Any kind of pain sucks, right? But man, tooth pain is a whole different ball game because we got so many nerves in our gums, right? And it's just a whole different animal. So anyway, he says, man, the only way that it's inevitable, you're going to have to get this tooth extracted. And right there, I'm so pissed off, thinking I've already put $3,000, invested $3,000 into this one tooth, and now I got to get it pulled and look at an implant. And he's like, yep. He says you can medicate it, but that's not healthy. You don't want to keep medicating things. Medication has its place, and it can help, knock things out for good. But in this case, it's like putting a bandage on, a wound, right? It's just going to help you get by that period of time, but eventually you're going to keep using it and wearing it down. It's gonna spark a flare up, and you're just gonna keep going through that cycle over and over again. You don't want to rely on, that's not a good method or a solution, a game plan to just medicate it, right? Again, it has its place. It bridges you, it gets you from A to B, but you gotta look for a long-term solution. So that's the same thing with chiropractic. Again, Advil and pain medication has its place, epidural shots, things like that. All those things can help bridge you and get you from point A to point B, but to get from A to Z, you need a long-term solution and something that's going to be sustainable and a long-term solution, right? So in this case, it's going to be an extraction for the damn tooth. And so I wanted to get a second opinion. I really was holding on to this tooth thinking, can I keep this tooth? Is it absolutely necessary for me to have to get it extracted? And it's driving me nuts, man, for like a month and a half. And I went to 2 different places. In fact, I went to Texas A&M. There was a great dentistry school there. And of course, my experience wasn't the greatest. I get there, the pano, all the x-rays I submitted to them, they said the pano wasn't legible, so I had to do another pano there. And then the time that we got to the extraction part, so I was just going to have it done there, save some money, man. Let these students, give them some practice. I figure, just numb me up and take the thing out. But because the nerve roots are so windy, and also I learned that when you have root canals and you have windy roots, that makes it even, and you're a clincher and a grinder, you've really solidified that the roots into the gum. It makes it that much more difficult and challenging to extract. And I'll get into that. I'm going somewhere with this, so hold on to that thought. But yeah, the time that they got to me, and these 2 students, female students, interns, and bless their heart, they were just meant well, but they, I don't think they realized what this was a very sophisticated situation. Their professor even came over and said, we're not going to do the extraction today because we're going to probably have to set you up with more of a special department. And if you want to save the tooth, just to get us an ultimate answer, we need to do what's called a CBCT scan. And that's kind of like a 3-dimensional scan. If you have them done, you know how cool it looks as far as the way that it rotates and moves, and you can see it on the imaging. It's really cool. It's a 3-dimensional look to like an x-ray, and it gets your whole, like your skull and your jaw and everything. It just moves around. You see all your teeth and everything. It's really cool. But anyway, they said if we really want to know for sure if you have a shot at reserving the tooth, right, keeping the tooth, we got to do this scan. So I went ahead and went to a different dental place to get that scan and to get a third opinion. And so I'm in a situation where it's like, can we salvage the tooth? Can we keep it and just do another form of root canal again and then do a recrown? Or the first endo said, well, I shouldn't say the first endo, he's the one that did the actual root canal, the retreat, right? The second endo, he says, no, there's no fixing it. There's no patching it up. There's no, can't do a crown, can't do a filling. It's not like you can patch it up. You have to extract it. And but the people at the school said, no, there's still a possibility, but we got to get that scan done to really know. So I just went, honestly, no disrespect to Texas A&M's dental school, but it was a little bit amateurish for me. When you're in pain and discomfort and you just want to deal with professionals that have been experienced, and there's a lot of waiting there, and it is cheaper, but it's just, I wouldn't say it was a waste of money, but it was just kind of like, I don't want to deal with that. I want to get to the heart of the matter and get this thing figure out, make a decision and get it done, get what I have to do done, right? So I might consider them for some future work. I don't know. I've talked to people, and even dentists said that they do good work, and they're overlooked by professors or medical professionals, obviously. But anyway, in this case, I was in pain, discomfort. I had to make a decision, right, to get something done, either do another root canal or yank it and look at doing an implant. Well, I go to a third dentist. He gives me, that's where they do the CBCT scan. Comes back, says, dude, gonna have to yank it, man. It's there's too much there's an infection there in the bone, the tooth itself. It's just inevitable. You don't want to put it off much longer. Look, people bullshit all the time, right? Even in the health profession, any health professional doctors can lie and have, question the integrity. It's all about money sometimes, some of these health professionals, but you kind of get a feel, at least I do, I get an intuition from people, and he just looked me right in the eyes and said, Shawn, if you were my brother or family member, I would have that thing pulled as soon as possible. And I knew at that point, I said, I've got to get it pulled, right? So he felt he could do it in his office. And even though he said it's going to be challenging because of the roots, the way they are, it's going to be challenging, but I really think I can do it. I don't think you need to go under. We can do a local anesthetic. You won't feel anything. You'll just hear some pressure and popping and whatever. And I'll just be honest, maybe I'll share the story another time, but I have had another extraction years ago, and I remember that experience. It went pretty smooth, but it's not a good feeling because you can hear sounds and cranking and popping and feel the pressure. It's not a very pleasant ride. But the pain is when the numbing, the lidocaine wears off, and that's when, it's the aftermath, the healing process that's painful, or can be quite tender for a few days or even a couple weeks. Anyway, so I'm scheduled to do this this extraction. I'm looking at implants now. Of course, when they do an extraction, they do a bone graft, and then you heal for 3 or 4 months. You could even wait as long as 8 months and even a year or longer, but it's probably better within a year to get the implant. But there's a healing process, and it takes time for the tissue to heal, so you can even look at an implant to start that process. And implants aren't cheap. We're talking $4 or $5 grand per one tooth, right? And anyway, so I commit to this. I'm going to get this tooth extracted on Tuesday, which was the 8th, right? July 8th. I go in there, he starts the process, nubs me up, starts getting in there, doing his thing. Wasn't pleasant. He's drilling and cranking and pulling and doing all, and I hear it pop off the tooth, and I can smell like burning of bone because he's using the drill. It's really an awful experience, man. But I just try not to get put under if I can help it. And I've done this another time, and that went a lot smoother than this, because this guy, and bless his heart, he meant well. He's doing his best, man. He's trying to, get this tooth out, but man, those roots were embedded. And he had to stop a couple times and come back, and I knew something was wrong. I said, he's not going to get this. And sure enough, he looked at me and said, Shawn, I'm going to have to send you to an oral surgeon, because I can't get this. I just don't want to keep chipping away at the gum bone to try to get those roots, because it snapped off the tooth and the roots are stuck in there. And oh man, so here I am at the office with gauze in my mouth, numbed up, face already swelling, right, my jaw. Try not to spit. Sounds kind of gross, but it is. But try not to spit, because you don't want to get a dry socket, right? But it's hard not to when you have saliva and blood, and you're just trying to get out of your mouth. And I mean, I'm here in my car, and I'm looking at it right now, but I had a little waste basket, like a little bin I keep in the car to kind of keep my, just throw trash in there and keep my car clean and organized. And so I'm on, I'm basically got gauze in my mouth, and mouth is all numb. They say, well, there's an oral surgeon that we send people to all the time right around the corner. But I live in Frisco, right? So I thought there's a location right down the street from where I live. I'll just go there. But instead of calling, I'm up on the tollway driving, and I'm not going to call them and try to with gauze in my mouth and all numbed up, and I got spit and saliva and blood dripping down my chin, and right, I'm spitting, or not really spitting, but kind of drooling into this little bin, and I end up spitting a couple times. And I got blood spray in the car. It looked like a Ric Flair match from the 80s, and did a blade job in my car. It was just a mess. And I'm driving on the tollway, and I drive directly to the the clinic in Frisco. Walk in there, real sweet lady. She's, it'd be easier to talk to someone in person than on the phone with that gauze in my mouth. She says, I can't get you anyone today here, but I can set you up to get this done. And she said to me, she looked at me, she said, if you were my husband, I'd have you do this today. Get it done today. Get this thing finished off. But we have availability in Dallas. I was just in Dallas. I drove up from 20 miles at the tollway back to Frisco. Now I'm driving back to Dallas. I drive back to Dallas. I go, and it's what's the name of the place? You think I would know this? Texas Oral Surgeon something rather. Anyway, I'll put it in the description here. I can't think of the name right now, but anyway, great people, took me in. I wanted to avoid being put under. Yeah, I'm a little paranoid about being put under, but it is the easier thing to do. And I've been put under before. I've been put to sleep, but I just thought, I'll just do the local again. So he's numbing me up, right? And he gives me 4 or 5 shots, numbs me up, waits 20 minutes, comes back. Can't feel anything. Everything, the nerves numbed up again. But because I was numbed up earlier in, a couple hours prior, when it starts to wear off and they try to, numb you back up again, there's something with the area that you're working on. In this case, the socket wasn't getting numb. It was still very tender and achy. And when he was going in there and doing, even putting the suction hose on the tooth, the little suction instrument, it was painful. He says, well, I'll try to numb you some more. So he must have stuck me 10, 12 different times, but after about an hour and a half of trying to get numb, it wasn't working. He said, Shawn, you're going to have to come back tomorrow, and we're going to have to put you under. And I knew at that point, I said, yeah, he's right. We're going to have to do that. So can you believe that? So gauze in the mouth, and by the way, when that Novocaine starts wearing off, or lidocaine, whatever that numbing agent is, that local anesthetic, oh my God, man, the throbbing, the aching, the pain, right? I come all the way back to this Target. I went to CVS to get some antibiotics, get some Advil, some medication that they prescribed for me, just to get me till the next day. And knowing that I'm going to have the extraction to finish off getting the roots out, to go and I need to continue the medication, the antibiotics, right? So, and I'm still running that now. I go back the next day. Of course, I had to arrange a ride. I had a couple buddies. We pulled it off, with their work schedules, but someone had to always be there. It wasn't like a buddy could just drop me off, take off, and then my other buddy would come pick me up and bring me back home. It was, they had to stay there and kind of tag out, and then, okay, you're next. You got duties for Shawn, but someone had to always be there while I was at that facility. It's just their policy, which I guess I understand. But my buddy that was going to take me back, or who took me back, shout out to Joe Venker. He was able to pick me up and bring me back home, because he lives close to where I live, another town, a few skips over from where I live. But he was already there the time my buddy dropped me off. So my buddy that dropped me off didn't have to stay there. My other buddy Joe was there. I don't know why I'm telling you all that. It doesn't matter. I had a ride, okay? I was able to pull this off. Went and had the extraction. They put me to sleep. I woke up. It went smooth. I wish I just would have done that in the first place. I wish I just would have done that in the first place. Just put me under, go to sleep. And it was, it's so smooth. You just open your eyes. You're almost like, I think I woke up at one point. I think I was under for 40 minutes, because it was challenging for the oral surgeon even to go in and get that, get those roots out. But of course, you had to put a bone graft in there. You had to suture it up. And but I remember I woke up out of right in the middle of them working, and I remember I didn't feel anything, of course, but I looked at them and I said, "Oh, you guys are still working," or something like that. And then boom, put me back down again. And then of course they were finished. Probably 15 minutes later, I came out of it, and got my ride home and went right back to sleep, man. And woke up that evening going, what happened? Was that a dream? And I'm thinking, no, why is my mouth sore? Why is my jaw? And then I realized, oh yeah, I went through all that. That wasn't a dream. It was a freaking nightmare is what it was. That whole ordeal, Tuesday, when I had that extraction attempt, and then having to drive back up to Frisco with gauze in my mouth, blood everywhere, go back to Dallas, can't get me numbed up enough, had to drive. And by the way, to drive back home on the Tuesday, bumper to bumper traffic. So picture that, you're bumper to bumper traffic on the tollway with your mouth full of gauze, numbed up, blood, dripping down your face. I wish I had a camera crew on me, man. It would have been a great day in the life of Shawn Stasiak, right? For this day, for a tooth extraction. It really would have been a good video. I told my videographer friend, I said, Dylan, I wish you were with me, man. You could have captured all the twists and turns I went through with that experience. So this is a long ass video, man. It's almost 25 minutes, but this is perfect for YouTube, because that's more of a long form content platform. So Anyway, but here's the kicker, man. That cost me $1,700 to go through that transition from the 3K. Now I'm $4,700 into this freaking tooth, and I have no tooth. I still got to look at an implant, and guess what? That's another $3-4 grand. So by the end of all of this, right? The $1,700, by the way, was this week. It was the deep cleaning and gum prep, the extraction, the bone graft, like all of it, right? It cost $1,700. So $3 grand plus $1,700, $4,700. Still don't have a tooth, right? And now if I were to do an implant, which I'm going to do, we're looking at another $3-4 grand probably. So let's just say $3 grand. Let's take the lower. Let's just take the lower number. We're looking at, what is that? About $8 grand. We're looking at $8-9 grand, just under $10K for one freaking tooth. Can you believe that? I can't get over it. It's like for like $10K. I mean, I would expect a whole entire grill done for $10K. You could put a down payment on a nice car, a used car, buy a used car. You know what I mean? Like one tooth, and not just the pocketbook being affected by one tooth, but the grief, the pain in the ass, or I should say pain in the tooth, pain in the gum. What a son of a bitch, man. Like, who would have ever thought that one tooth would cause you that much grief and that much money? I don't know what to take from this other than, if you don't have tooth pain and you don't have any kind of pain and you're feeling great and your health is up, like, man, relish that, man. Like, just be grateful for every day that you I just think we take things for granted and don't realize that there could be numerous different things that could just fester and turn into a domino effect, like this case with this tooth that started 3 years ago with the root canals and the jaw issue and the endo, and then the failed root canal, and then another root canal and a crown, and then fracture it, and then go through this ordeal. It's like, it's unbelievable, right? Like, it's like you could make a movie, right? A comedy movie on this guy, and you call it, well, I guess The Rock did come out with the Tooth Fairy. Where was the freaking Tooth Fairy when I needed you, Rock? Dwayne. Anyway, I think you got my point. I think the message, though, ultimately is, not that I ever took it for granted, but don't take your health for granted ever, and just count your lucky stars and be ultraly grateful whenever you feel good, right? It could always be worse, but it slows you down. Meaning this week has been, and it's been like, oh, I have a dry socket, by the way. Pretty sure I do, because it throbs, it aches, I get an earache, headache, and it just takes it out of you systemically, man. Like, I'm just exhausted. So this whole week has been just a write-off, trying to be productive, even though I've been in the gym, and it'll be a week the time I go back. I'll probably try to go back lightly again on Monday, but I haven't been since Monday. So I knew I was going to have that extraction on Tuesday, and I said, well, I'm going to just lock in and finish some work that I'm doing with some projects and whatnot, but it's hard to even focus and concentrate when you have this throbbing ache and pain, and it radiates to your ear and your head, and you're exhausted. Just pain takes it out of you, man. So as a chiropractor, as a former pro wrestler, I know about back pain, I know about neck pain, sciatica, shoulder pain, elbow pain, knee pain, any kind of pain, right? But tooth pain is, I don't want to say it's the worst, but it's a different animal, man. And for those who know, you know. But I think the takeaway is, man, take care of yourself. Floss, brush, not just every day, but maybe even twice a day, 3 times a day. I've always had good, dental practices, but I think a lot of it's genetics. And if you're a grinder like me with a jaw that's a little bit more kind of like a Rottweiler, yeah, you might want to listen to your dentist and get a night guard. Probably a good idea to listen to them, so you don't fracture your tooth or teeth like I did. Anyway, that's my takeaway. That's my story. Hope you enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of rambling there. I just wanted to share it. I don't know. Saturday afternoon, and I'm about to go home and make some blueberry pancakes, something soft, and I'm going to probably put my head down for a couple hours. Saturday night's main event tonight, Goldberg's retirement match in Atlanta. UFC card on tonight. what other thing can I plug here? I guess that's it. Oh, my phobia project, wearing supporting t-shirt, and I guess that's it for now, man. I hope you enjoyed this video. You guys take care, be blessed, and until next time, adios.